I want to talk about a topic that sometimes you read about uh, in historical narratives, in religious narratives, or uh, there was also a science fiction movie about it. That there is this society where robots are doing all the work. There is nothing to do for humans. Humans are just like a very well fed, well kept uh, pet. And then it shows that it was showing that all the humans that were in the robot film, they're all very fucked up, extremely violent. They would do anything to get any kind of attention from each other. They were basically all like serial killers, and, and do anything extreme to get a kick. To so well, actually, I'm at work. Kind of watching. It's really late. I don't want to be messing with the high value clients that are running around in their Lamborghini. I don't want them to be shooting me accidentally. Well, actually, I might be in that society or in that futuristic film I just talked about. But uh, so what happens when uh, people, they don't have to work, they don't have to solve problems? Like, imagine a place where the medical technology has gotten to the point that there really aren't too many diseases that you have to sit and worry. For example, I sit and worry about my diabetes or infection. Sometimes I get infection, I get really warped and start doing all this research and do this and that to kind of prevent it from going any further. But what if technology or medicine got to the point where there is no concern, and we already have a central bank that just keep printing money and handing it out? Then this uh, society has been described in some religious texts. For example, Imam Ali, he was one of the founders of religion of Islam. He he says that when a laim, when somebody that doesn't have very good morals uh, attains tremendous financial and personal success, then he also develops very strange problems, things that and diseases. Nobody knows how to fix this. Then Molavi, Iranian mystic, he says that put a tree or a plant that has beautiful flowers and fruits, uh, give sustenance, give water, fertilizer to this plant, rather than anything else that might be walking and talking. But then the Sufi master said that say you have a like like a like a real estate, a piece of buildable lot, something that there is nothing in it, and then you install all these water sprayers, then they keep spraying water, fresh water on these plant, on these useless ground. then what will happen after a while, after like a month, 2 months, 6 months, is all these weeds and all these crap that they had the roots in there. They weren't really worth for shit. The A lot of them are toxic. They just will grow, and they will become huge shrubs. And then if you want to build anything on this plant, I mean on this real estate or this buildable lot, then you have another problem. Then you have to go hire somebody to come and cut these weeds down. And also, it's not a very simple thing to do, because many of these useless weed or shrubs or things that they don't have any fruits, they're toxic. They also run real deep roots underground. And then even if you cut them down, then you come around like about a month later, and they have sprung up, because once these useless shrubs or weeds, they run roots down the ground, they don't die easily. They rejuvenate. They suck up all the water that's deep in the ground, eat the nutrients, and when you were watering the place, they stored some of the water was in the ground, some was stored in the roots. So we have a really big problem when these useless things have become dominant. And well, uh, I used to work for buildings and grounds when I was in the college, and we had these all these weed zappers. It's like a wire on a stick, and you run it, and it hits the weeds, but it cuts them off from the top. But then the problem was that we had to go back every like 3 months. They would for an area, so 20 acres, 10 acres, we were on continuous roll. Like we go from every week to week, we change different lots, and do the same thing, use the weed killers, and we cut them down, and the regular plants get a break to grow and shine. It was just like work, endless work, endless toil. So some places I've seen some farmers, they bring they bring really heavy tarps, like black plastic tarp, or even some builders, they bring crushed stone, or crushed stone doesn't really work too well, because some weeds, they go around the stone and come up again, and they become much harder, because then you cannot zap them with the wire zapper. uh, you'll disturb the stones, will fly off too. So some builders, they put like a solid slab of stone on that ground, and like I think like some people, they got the really good intuition, and they kind of get a grasp of where I'm going, and they already know that these crude models that I'm constructing, or what do they look like? What in Persian there is the expression, says, when you grab the broom, the the guilty cat dashes out. The fucking guilty cat knows that the broom is for him, and like they're gonna whack you, son of a bitch. You ate the cheese again, huh? but say what's happening economically and in a lot of countries in United States, in Europe, even in like China or other countries, is that for many years, U.S. government or the central bank in China or in Europe, Eurozone, they gave easy monetary policy, they gave easy money loans or even bailouts to many industries like airline to manufacturing, and they had an evolution. Many technologies, they have a cycle of evolution, and money is not the thing that they often need. There are other things that technological development dictates that you have to do those things. One of the things that technological development entails is that when a new technology comes in, say for example, a new wireless phones came in, it makes the older phone systems, which were based on copper, totally obsolete, and also it 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 has a scale factor of to the millionth of times more communication happens, or about 1 billion times cheaper than the copper wire technology. So giving the companies like phone companies that use coppers, because at some point they were fantastic, AT&T, Mobile, giving them all these loans and handouts, it doesn't do anything to the industry, because the industry or technology can go anywhere and will go anywhere and will develop on its own. And you don't know, maybe the jump in technological advances would be happening in like some faraway place like Timbuktu or Vietnam. They come up with the 7G, something like that, and make almost everything else completely obsolete. And what happens when we water this buildable log with all this water for extended period of time? What happens when the central bank, the Fed, started giving all these monies and resources to defunct companies and zombie companies, and they who knows what they did with it, but they develop roots. They buy senators. They even though the company and the technology has died, there is no such thing. There's not as much demand for Boeing planes, because the world makes much better planes, and they're cheaper and safer, or there is not as much demand or any demand for like phones that Mobile makes or AT&T makes, uh, because the technology is now 6G, which is like by leaps and bounds ahead. But then what happened to all the cash that the Fed handed out to AT&T? Is just like growing shrubs and stuff that don't do anything, except they run roots, and they are well established zombie company. They don't make anything, they don't but they have all these uh, resources, all these uh, senators work for them and watch for. Not only that, but they have also all these regulations and uh, people that they have hired, and there's a culture and that they're beholden to, and they are beholden to them. Then what's happening next is that uh, when a lot of useless shrubs, the ones that have very strong seeds, they spring up, then that's not the end, because the water is there. Then other more useless shrubs and stuff that they are not as strong roots, but they also suck up all the nutrients and all the things in the ground. They also grow up. Uh, well, the Sufi master said that he was trying to talk about these crises that comes up in the United States, and he started talking about the Amazon River, that this river and all the fresh water that it has, it it feeds all kinds of creatures, many creatures that you wouldn't want there to exist even. Very noxious snakes, very troubled insects, uh, because the food chain is very extensive. It feeds uh, all kinds of creatures and well, there comes a time, but a lot of farmers, they really don't like parts of Amazon, or they wouldn't even go there. But when the farmers, they want to like grow a plant that you could use, like grow corn, you really have to burn down all that has grown up there, that is totally irrelevant to any food production, or it could be used for human habitation. In fact, in uh, earlier parts of the Earth's history, Earth is able to feed and give many animals, and there were very many, very large animals that have only gone extinct, maybe like 5,000, 10,000 years ago. And they really don't know if many of the dinosaurs, they have come all the way down to our times or not. They keep finding some live sample here and there, but all these very large animals, they were not useful to for human use, or for people to live there, make a city. And at some point, somebody had to get rid of them. And there is episodes in human history that well, there is psychic predictions by Prophet Muhammad for end times prophecies. Is He was saying that in the end times, uh, the population will kind of collapse. There will be not as many people alive. Well, actually, Prophet Muhammad predicted that there will be the word he used was called Taun. Taun means like a pandemic, that nobody knows where this. In the past, they didn't know what viruses were, but he was he was said that it would come and many people will die, like herds. They would die, but uh, well, then it's amazing that the people that die, they usually have very lousy immune system. They're all the people, and they're also extremely dependent on the food production, and the stuff they eat is a very limited number of amino acids and stuff that the body needs, proteins. everything is processed, and they're also obese, and well, but the Prophet Muhammad said that there will be more of these, and then a lot of the population would disappear, human population. But also, I'm kind of lost my train of thought. Uh, this kind of relates to previous video about technologically induced uh, learned helplessness, but also I think the way people live in society is now very atomized. Like every person is really doesn't need too many people, don't need extended family, doesn't need, but all these things, all these changes, they're very unhealthy, very contrary to the way this human body or psyche is built. Humans are primates. They're built like monkeys, and monkeys they live in communities or herds, and they usually get their food from foraging from many different plants, and very small amounts of meat, not too much. But I don't know. I want to extend these ideas in another video because this train of thought is going somewhere. I know where I'm going, but I don't want the video to get too long. I hope I can find a good name for this video. Thank you very much for being my YouTube channel. Please subscribe and leave comment.